Hi guys, Inkyvaper here, and today we're going to be looking at the Wanko, really, by Focusecig. It's a little dinky RDA from China, less than a tenner. It's got some interesting little features about it, which is why I got it. Well, actually I got it for comedy value to start off with, but it's actually surprised me. So we'll go down, have a quick look at it. Once we've done that, we'll come back up and I'll give you my thoughts. I'll see you in a minute. Here we are down low with the Wanko RDA. Comes in a clear plastic case, as you can see. Usual gubbins all over it. Turn it the right way up, there you can see. I've got the exposure up a little bit because obviously it's a black RDA and we need to be able to see it. So the case was a bit broken when it came to me, but you know. Take the RDA out for the minute. As you can see on the front here, we've got various different coils. It comes with 3 coils. It comes with a 1 ohm Canthal coil. I don't know if you can see this. Let's take the exposure down a little bit now. We're looking at white. So we've got Canthal A1 coil there, which is a 1 ohm. 316 stainless steel, which is 0.5 of an ohm. And then on the end we've got a Clapton. Doesn't say what the Clapton's made out of, but it's a 0.35. Okay, so they're all mounted in the outside of the case. And in the back here, in the little circly bit, we've got now we've gone all dark again. There we go. In this packaging here, you've got some spare spring clips, some screws, and some O-rings, which is great to see. We've also got in the bottom of the case, we've got a too bright again. I'll actually do it from there. Got an instruction thing, shows you how to fit the coils, and a little doodie of Japanese organic cotton. Looks like Muji or something similar. Apologies again for the white glare. Right, I'm going to take the 1 ohm coil out of there because we're going to use that in a bit. Get the case back together and pop it out of the way. Right, so let's have a look at the actual RDA itself. Right, now, as you can see, it's finned. The name is just ridiculous, but you know what you're going to do. The Chinese obviously have no idea what wank means. You've got a drip tip at the top here. Now, the interesting thing about this drip tip is it actually, he says, let's grab a, there we go. It's actually a 510 drip tip with a drip tip adapter. Now, I haven't tried to find out if there's anything else that will fit in here. Let me just bang this exposure up a little bit more so you can see a bit more of what's going on. So I haven't actually seen if there's, I haven't actually sort of checked any of my drip tips to see if they'll fit in there, that sort of chuff style. But it seems to me like they came up with the idea they were going to put a chuff style cap in there, and then they realised that this thing spits like a bugger if you've got too much juice in it anyway, and with a chuff style cap it would probably with a chuff style mouthpiece it would probably spit even worse. So, but obviously with that coming off, you can put any of your 510 drip tips that you like into that converter there. Right, as you can see, there's the inside of the cap. It's quite sort of staged and quite sort of domed and stuff, so it does sort of lend towards good flavour. And on the side we've got airflow, which corresponds with the side here. Now, I was quite alright with this until we were at Vape Fest and Dean pointed out that the side hole in the deck is completely different in size and shape to the side hole that's actually in the top cap. So when you put them on, even if you've got it right, like bang, right in the middle of the airflow, the airflow is kind of this airflow slot on the outside is over it covers part of the open area on the bottom of the deck, and also you can see the stainless steel through the outside there, which is a pain in the ass, to say the least. Right, let's take that out of the way. Okay, so now we'll look at the deck. I'm going to bring the exposure down again a little, just because it's a little bit brighter. So as you can see, we've got, I'll get a little pointer, we've got these two like leaf springs, like on a fuse, like an old-fashioned fuse in a plug. Now you can use these, or you can actually take them off and use the deck, but it's fiddly as balls to do that, so I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. And what happens is you get your coil and you just pop it. These are the coils, sorry. They've got like a fuse end to each end of them. This is the 1 ohm coil that we're going to be trying out today. But that's it, you just pop it in there, it grips it, gets good contact, and it's just a case of wicking it and giving it a go. So what we'll do is I'm going to bung this on my mini volt, because I think it's going to look quite cool with a little 1 ohm build on the mini volt. I think it'll look quite the thing. So I'm going to pop this on there, and it is showing it just over an ohm, 1.14. So what we're going to do is just going to give it a bit of a pulse. Actually, I might just turn that up a little bit, take it up to 20 watts, give it a bit more of a pulse. All we're wanting to do is just get this, make sure that the coil, like any coil, glows evenly from the centre outwards, and it's not wanting to, it's taking its time to glow up. There we go. Now, with these being like a fuse, I found that if you squeeze them too much, you run the risk of really screwing up the coil. So what I found is the old strum the coil method the best. As you can see, that's starting to heat up again now. You can just give it a gentle tweak at the ends, like so. Obviously, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure, like me, that you're using ceramic tweezers. Otherwise, you're going to short the whole thing. And what we want is an even an even glow going from middle to ends, just like on a conventional coil. I think we need a little bit more power through that, to be honest, which is weird because it's 1 ohm. Let's try it up at 25. Oop, 26 will do. Right. So it is glowing from the centre, but it's taking its bloody time. This is the thing with this particular RDA, and if you're going to be pretty much using the, there we go, using the coils that are provided. They can be a bit finicky, and you do take a bit of a fiddle and a faff to get going. So what I'll do now is I'll wick this up and show you what it looks like. So got a bit of cotton ready. I'm just going to take off the that little thin sort of papery outer layer on one side, I'm not sure, I realise I'm not showing you that. And on the other side. So there we go. Let's get a good, give it a good twist on the end. Need to get it quite a fine point to get it through this coil because it's a bit of a bugger. So I would suggest that you see, look, this is what happens when you're pulling your cotton through. If you get it a little bit too tight, it just pulls the whole thing out, and that's now hot. What a dickhead! Right there, I think that's about right. So what we're going to do is going to get a little scissors. You turn down the exposure just a tad because, ooh, not that much, because the cotton is very white. And I'm just going to chop it about there and about there. Get rid of those bits. And now what I do is I just flatten out this end like so, and then kind of just chop it down the middle. So that we've got these kind of bow type ends that we can just plonk into the juice well, which sort of sits at either end. Now with this RDA, as you can see, we've got airflow that goes in here, it goes under there, comes up underneath the coil. It makes it difficult to drip just sort of through the drip tip. So what you want to be doing with this is taking the top cap off and just painting that coil, and then painting either of these two sort of ends to the wick, to the juice channel where we've got the majority of the wick. So we're going to keep the wick nicely away from those air holes and into these sort of juice wells at the end, like so. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going to put some Alkyd, I don't know if that will show up, by Lancashire Steam Company, which is a dolly mixture. Oh no, not dolly mixture. It's a fruit gummy sweets. I can't remember the name of them. I'm getting old. Just leave that on there. Hit fire. Oh, look at that. So, as you can see, clouds for days. And I just pop this back on. Jelly tots. That's what it tastes like. So that's the build and the recoiling and the re-wicking of the Wanko, the up close and all the details. It's 22mm RDA, I forgot to say, and it is, I believe, hang on, let me just check what the measurements are, because I wanted to tell you, because it's a tiny little bugger. It's 20mm in height, so it's 22 in circumference, 22 in height, and the drip tip is 8mm, so in total it's 28mm in height with the drip tip in, which is pretty dinky. And as you can see, let me just up the exposure again a bit. As you can see, that looks pretty cool on the mini volt. Yeah, it needs a bit more wattage, which is odd for a 1-ohm coil. Anyway, we'll go back up top and carry on, and I'll give you my pros and cons. Hi guys, welcome back up top. So we've got the Wanko here from Focusecig. I bought this from GearBest. It cost me less than a tenner. I can't remember the exact price it was now, but it was less than a tenner. And I also got 2 pots of coils for about £1 for each pot. So that was, you know, negligible. At that kind of price, this is near enough a disposable dripper. What we're going to do, what I'll do is I'll talk about the cons first. First con is the thing that Dean pointed out to me at Vape Fest, which I can't stop looking at, and it's driving me crazy, is the fact that the outer barrel's side airflow slot is wider lengthwise and shorter depthwise than the one that is on the build deck. So when you look at it, you've got these you can see these little stainless steel sort of sections at either end of the airflow, which is irritating. Now, obviously that's not going to be an issue if you've got the stainless steel one, because you're not going to be able to actually see it as clearly, but it's there. So that's the thing. Now it can be used without the coils that it comes with. You can actually remove those fuse-like springs. But if you do that, I've found that it's really, really tricky to build, and as a result, I've not bothered doing it. I did it once, and excuse me, I've got something in my eye. I did it once, and I didn't want to faff about doing that ever again. But with the coils that you get with it and the cheapness of the others, you can pretty much just afford to just buy a shed load of coils for it. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. It gets hot too. It does get hot. Now I'm having to run this 1 ohm coil at 31 watts to get any kind of the sort of vapor that I want from it. And as a result, the top cap does get quite warm, and because it's so the sort of the top of it's quite short, you end up touching your lips on the top of the top cap, and it can get a little bit hot. Another con would be that it does spit a touch. Now it's a bit more spitty, misses, with the Clapton coil in. The round wire ones aren't quite so bad, but the Clapton one definitely does like to spit a bit of juice in your mouth when you first drip. First couple of puffs from after dripping can be a little bit spitty, but after that it tends to settle down. The coils themselves are not the easiest to wick. You saw in the close-up that I actually, as I was wicking it, it actually pulled the coil out of the fuse thing. The good thing about it is once you've actually tweaked them and stuff, generally speaking, you just pop them straight back in and it's not going to be that much of an issue. You're not going to get hot spots or anything like that. One of the things I did encounter while I was at Vape Fest, I had this with me, and one of the Clapton coils went from being at about 0.35 ohms to suddenly jumping up to well over 1 ohm, which when you've got it on a regulated device, and I was running it at about 60 watts, yeah, it wasn't a very pleasant experience. It looked like to me that after I'd re-wicked that Clapton coil probably about 3 or 4 times, and I think what had probably happened is that the coil itself had started to sort of, the connection between that and the 2 solid silver collars at the end had started to sort of detach a little. So that's something to keep an eye on if you do decide to get one of these. Okay, so I think that's it on the cons side of things. Other than the name, I mean the name's just ridiculous, but at the same time it's quite funny, I suppose. So, you know, it's up to you whether you think that's a con. It's a subjective one, I guess. I mean, it did make me buy it. The whole Wanko thing did actually I just bought it for the comedy value, and I think I have to say I've been sort of quite pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's not by any means a top of the range dripper, but then at less than a tenner, you can't really expect it to be. So anyway, pros. The flavour on this thing is really good because it's such a compact, small little chamber. You've got the airflow coming in at the sides and going up underneath the coil. You do get good flavour from it. it's easy enough to wick and to build. Obviously, you just pop one of those coils in. Now they do take a bit of finagling to get them to sort of heat up evenly, which again we saw in the up close, so you're aware of that. And I think it does. I think it actually looks quite cool. I think it's quite a nice looking little dripper. I think the silver, the stainless steel one is obviously a lot nicer looking, I think, than the black. But it's still a decent little setup. And on this mini volt, I think it looks the bee's knees really. So that's it really on the pros as well. It's a fairly simple little device. It's nothing going to sort of set the world on fire or anything like that. But if you're in the market for a little cheap dripper that's not going to break the bank, even if you buy a load of coils, it's still, you know, you're going to be paying, I don't know, if you bought 10 of each of the coils, so if you bought 3 packs of coils and this, you're probably looking at just over between 12 and 13 pounds for the whole kit and caboodle, which, you know, it's not bad really, is it? Not bad at all. It's not going to be a mainstay of my rotation, that's for definite. But again, I can't get over the fact that it is surprisingly good for what it is. I think Todd said it's on one of his vlogs that it's not completely shit, but it is still on the shit scale, and I think that's a fairly fair summation of this actual little dripper. It's a novelty thing for me. It was a jokey little thing so that I could make loads of wanko jokes on Facebook and in Instagram, and surprisingly, it's actually turned out to be a reasonable dripper. Like I say, it isn't going to set your world on fire. It's not going to be a game changer by any means. But if you want something that fits on a nice little stealthy device like this, you could go worse than getting something like that. Okay, so I'm going to start repeating myself again. So we're going to stop there. I'll see you on the next one, and take care. Oh, thanks for watching. Bye.